Hello there everyone, it's Carol from the Crafty Emporium. I said at the end of the last Country Diary journal video that I was going to do a new series of videos relating to making all the extra bits and pieces that make up the journal itself, you know, all the journaling cards and the little booklets and things like that. And I wasn't quite sure what I was going to call it. Well, I've decided on It's the Little Things That Count. So this is the It's the Little Things That Count set of videos. I said that I was going to utilise some of the items out of the subscription pack that I did, which included all sorts of journal essential bits and pieces. Now, a couple of people have since asked me, that subscription is now finished, but on my pop-up shop, on my Facebook group, which is held once a month, not the Facebook group but the pop-up shop, once a month, I've made up some packs of other bits and pieces of journaling essentials. So if you are interested, then that's where you will need to go and purchase them. Sometimes though, you need to make some of the little bits to then decorate up the journal essential pieces. So like the index cards or guest checks, and especially with this being based around Country Diary theme, then you need some of those extra little bits and pieces and those cut out bits and pieces that you've got to then decorate those up. Now then, cast your mind way back in the early days of the Country Diary journal, and I will link the video that I'm referring to down below in the description box. But I don't know if you'll remember, but I inked up some pages with some of my green Tim Holtz inks, which is this piece here, and I said that this was going to come into play at a later date. Now is the day. Okay, now the other thing is, the last lot of videos that I did were all about sorting out my craft room to be far more organised than it was, and I sorted out all my dies and my embossing folders, and so this now ties in with that. There is method in my madness, you see. And so I'm going to use the Tim Holtz Sizzix Thinlet die, and it is number 661808. Hope you can see that. And excuse the state of my nails, I've been inking up already. And so that's the die that I'm actually going to be using. I'm going to be using this one, and this one. Okay, so I'm just using those three for now. Put that to one side. I need a bigger prepping area over this side over here, so I've got places to dump everything. Okay, so if you remember, what I did was I smushed my inks onto my glass mat, and then I just swiped the paper and card through the inks and dried it off, and then smushed it through again, and then you end up with all these bits of dyed paper. Now, you don't just have to use your Tim Holtz inks, you can use any water-based inks, and in fact I'm going to do a little demonstration using these Stampin' Up pads. You could also do this effect with watercolour paints and acrylic. Couldn't think of the word then. Acrylic paints. All right, so don't think that you've just got to use your Stampin' Up pads, so you can use those mediums as well to be able to decorate your paper up. Now, I've ripped a piece off because it's too big otherwise to go through my die cutting machine, so I'm just going to demonstrate on this piece here and put that out the way. Now, I could tape these into place, but I'm going to be dead lazy, and I'm just going to place these on here like this, and I'm going to transfer it to my Big Shot machine here. Just make sure that they're not moving about. Now, one of the things that I've decided, I do like my Big Shot, but it's a manual one, and I don't like keep cranking it all the time. Now, my plates have bent, and even though I've watched videos of if you do this, if you immerse them in hot water, if you put them in the oven, blah, blah, blah. I've watched all of those to say, you know, how to straighten your plates out if they've got a bit bent. Tried it. It didn't work out. But it means that I've got to crank my Big Shot backwards and forwards several times. And especially with something quite as delicate as this. And this is where, I suppose, the metal plates that they've created for delicate dies comes into play. But I don't have one. So I've decided my next big investment is I'm going to buy me an electric one. So that's my next investment. Okay, let's see if it worked. Now I've got to be careful with these because they are very delicate. But look at that. How good's that? I love it. I love it, I do, I just love it. Oh, that one's got stuck in there. Let me poke it all. It's got a little bit in there, there we go. But it means that they come out already pre-coloured and multicoloured, which gives the effect then of them being more realistic to nature. So you've got to have a real delicate hand if they're still a little bit stuck in the paper. You see what I mean by, like, I don't think my plates are, I think they're bowing in certain places, and so they're not totally cutting all the way through all the time. There we go. But this bit that's left over, of course, I can just go on and put, I can just put the partial die on. I don't have the whole, have to have the whole die cut out. So I could just partial cut, because sometimes you want things poking out from underneath, and so therefore you don't need the full die. So I can utilise these bits that are left over. The other thing is as well is that if I'd done it on a much thicker card, if I put my hand underneath, you can see I've now got also a bit of a stencil. So I could use that for stenciling purposes too. But look how that one turned out. How lovely is that? Nice. I'm liking. But I've now got these already done and cut out and ready to decorate up my index cards and my guest checks. Now if you can see here, I've already got some already die cut from just plain card, and this was a cream coloured card. And in fact, let me just move those out the way a minute. Now you can die these up once they've been cut out, and I'm going to demonstrate that with my Stampin' Up pads. Now when you first get your ink pads, they're really juicy loosey, so I only want a little, that's just a real gentle. Oop. Got a fair bit of ink on there now. So that one is Old Olive, which is that one there. And I'm also going to use Crumb Cake. So I'm going to use that one as well. So it kind of gives the effect of it being a little bit wooded. Now I've already, oh, I didn't want to do that. I've already practiced doing this, and I didn't quite put enough of the crumb cake on. Now I've got loads. Oh dear. Right, so now I'm going to spritz it with my water. And this is where you get mucky fingers. In fact, I want to have a piece of kitchen roll to hand too. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip this in the ink. And I'm going to do the bottom part more in the brown and the top part more in the green. And then where the two mix. So that's what it looks like when I've dipped it in. I want a bit more down there, don't I? But look, your fingers do get dirty. Now I'm just going to dab it on there. Now, I would normally use my heat tool, and just heat them up to dry the ink, but dabbing it does the same kind of thing. So you've got the effect of it going from the bright green down to the browny colour. Let's do that one there. Do another one. So you just dab it in. Dab that in the darker brown there. So I can go back, once I've dabbed off the excess, I can go back and I can go and dab a bit more. I'm going to do a bit more brown down that bottom end. A bit more green at the top. Place it on there, dab it down, take off the excess. So this now looks like the bottom part of the plant, you know, where it goes quite woody sometimes, and then you've got the fresh sprigs up here. But again, it creates a similar sort of effect, but different. That makes sense. That's I don't want to pick the ink up. There we go. That's better. And the more I keep dabbing it in, patting it off, and then dabbing it back in again, I can add different colours to it to create a different effect again. Might want some more water on there. Let's spray a bit more water on. And then I'm just going to dab that bit in the green. Now, as I say, this is a far messier technique. But, and in fact, because I was dabbing it so much, I think the other side actually looks nicer. So that's another way of inking up your die cuts. Just get rid of that a minute. So something else I want to have a go at doing. So I just want to, in true Blue Peter style, here's some I did earlier. So those are the ones that I inked up earlier. Just put them on my hand. Excuse my inky fingers now. There we go. So that's the effect that those created, and those have dried off a bit more now. And the other thing that I like as well, I like that effect that this sort of technique creates. Can you see the white around the edge, or the cream, I should say, around the edge? It sort of adds a little bit of a highlight, as though it's a hint of a bud coming through. Yeah, like that. So I'm going to have a go at using my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen. And let me just see if I've got it. Yeah. And so what I could do is I could then come in and just add a little bit of sparkle and a little hint of other colour. And I'm not going to do this all the way down, I'm just going to do it at the top. But I've now got a little bit of sparkle on that end. Let's have a look at this one. It's had a bit on there. Now, you won't see the sparkle on this really until it sort of dries up a little bit. But it's another way of just adding a little bit of extra texture to it. And also dimension, because it now makes the leaves look a little bit more 3D. So that was it before. What have I got? Oh, hang on. I've got a bit of cream here. Sit it on there. So that was it, just inked up. And this is it with the Spectrum Noir on it. So you can see this looks a little bit more realistic and lifelike in comparison to this one. So this one looks sort of watercoloured and this one looks a little bit more lifelike. So there's several options there as to what you can do. And then the other thing that I said in my die cutting video was that I was going to have a plastic wallet set aside. I would then keep all my die cut bits in so that I've got them to hand, and then I will slot this behind the die packet and I'll just keep all those in there, and then I've got a plain cream one there, and I've got my other ones to do to add as well, so I'll add those into my little wallet. But I've now got some all ready to use. So this is another reason why I was doing the sort out your dies, put them into a semblance of order, but also die cut some out so that you've got them now all ready and prepared. So it means that when I come to decorate, as I said, the general essential bits and pieces, I've got these that I can utilise in those packs, rather than going, okay, today I'm going to decorate some index cards, and then I've got to spend time doing that before I can then go on to go and decorate the index cards. So these are now all ready. So have a look through your dies, think about inking up some of your papers beforehand, see about inking them up and playing with them afterwards, and do the prep work. Okay, so that's my first of It's the Little Things That Count. Hope you've enjoyed that, and hope you go and get inky fingers like me. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.